So welcome to another Miami Corona Project conversation. Today, a day when 1,425 Miami-Dade County residents have now succumbed to the coronavirus. A day where our hospitals are operating at 140% capacity of their ICU beds here in Miami-Dade County. A day where 109,000 of our residents have tested positive for the virus. I am deeply honored to have one of 40 people that represents the state of Florida in the 40-member chamber. And that, of course, is Senator Taddeo, who represents District 40, which, as you know, is the Kendall area here in Miami-Dade County. It's such an honor to have you here, Senator Taddeo. Thank you so much for joining me.
No, my pleasure, my pleasure. Thank you for having this important conversation.
Sure. So before I talk to you about the important policy concerns, how they're affecting our district and our state, and what needs to be done at the policy level, and what has not been done, what government has failed to do. Before I go there, let me just ask you personally, how are you doing? How is this pandemic impacting you, your family, at the personal level? How are you doing?
I'm healthy, which is what matters. It has not been an easy time. As you know, we finished session as all this was starting. Now we find out it had started long before that. But when we were really, as a state, finally started to pay attention to it was when we finished session. So we were in a hurry to get out of there, come home, deal with this, and here we are. I mean, that was beginning of March. Here we are at the end of July, almost August, and here we are just haven't really learned anything. It's really amazing. But as far as my family, we're good health-wise, and you know, getting used to this new structure of working from home and working much harder, because I will tell you the need, especially in Miami-Dade County, which I represent, has been really immense. I couldn't do it without amazing staff that is severely underpaid and overworked, but it is what it is. That's what public service is.
Yeah, thank you. I know, as a working mother, as a small business owner, as a member of our community, it impacts you as a human being the same way that it impacts you as a senator. Let's focus on the governance part. Why is the state of Florida here? The state of Florida, did not have New York numbers when we knew that there was a virus. And now we have more numbers than New York numbers. We have surpassed New York. What went wrong? Why are we here? Why were we forced to shut down for an entire period of time? And all of us as citizens of this community did. We sheltered in place. We did what we were asked to do. What went wrong?
I think, frankly, politics went wrong. A lot of our elected officials, from our president to our government, have not been listening to the scientists and the experts. We knew what we needed to do. We've seen how other countries have been able to handle it if they actually pay attention to it before it happens. It seems like our governor has been going after the virus instead of getting in front of it. And we had the opportunity to get in front of it. All of us were staying in place. But, I think politics got in the way to where they were like thinking that they were going to reopen the economy and get it going. And what I said at the time was, let's not do this in an effort to get the economy going, and it's actually going to be worse because we're going to have to shut down again, or do a partial shutdown, which is what we're living through right now. So I think that is worse for the economy, worse for small businesses. We are seeing that the courts, where a lot of business owners are actually filing for bankruptcy, are overwhelmed. And that is because we didn't do it right. We didn't get ahead of it. And it's really sad because I think politics got in the way. There was a lot of you got this governor likes to listen a lot to the president. The president didn't want to pay attention to it. And now we're in the mess we're in, not just in Florida, but throughout lots of places. And it's really sad because, again, we know what can be done. And let me just be clear what I mean. This is not just about Republican or Democrat, but in the past, when we have seen any virus, we go to the place where it started. When Ebola was the problem, we actually went there, sent the doctors there, and we're very careful as to who to bring into our country and allow in if they had the virus. We just sort of hit it where it was, so it wouldn't spread in that original country and then spread everywhere else. That's the way you deal with a virus. We also had the H1N1, which was the swine flu. Again, I even got the swine flu. Because California was getting a lot from Mexico. I was flying back from California on a business trip, and I got it. And that's one of the reasons why I have to be actually very careful with this virus, because of the long-lasting effects that came out of that, which is that I can't even get a cold and immediately it turns into pneumonia. So I think that we learned a lot from controlling those situations and not let them spread so much, but that's not what we did here. We literally just ignored it like it was going to go away on its own.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of that happening, and we're also seeing today, and I do want to make a point about it today, and not to get outside of the state and international conversations, but just this morning, Dr. Fauci was defending himself on national television from a tweet that the president made last night, questioning his authority, and also a couple of other tweets where he took back what he said about masks just a few days earlier. And I think that when you said politics, I do believe that in times like this, Americans are fractured enough for them to have fractured communication coming from the highest positions of power, thus exacerbate what is already a difficult problem for families that are about to face eviction. And today, they don't know if in a few days, they will have their checks that are helping them pay for food and for rent. So we're in a difficult time. And bringing it back down to Dade County and back down to Florida, what can a senator do in the governance of this state? Is the governance broken? Is there a problem? Is it that 3 people control the state of Florida, the president, the speaker, and the governor? Is there a way where the body politic, especially a body that's being infected, a body that's being battered, a body that's being evicted, and a body that's being unemployed, can that body politic rise to break the stranglehold? What is going on here? I mean, from a citizen's point of view, I am anguished, but the worst is yet to come.
Oh yeah.
The worst is yet to come. So I'm just wondering, how do we break through this? And I think the answer is government. So how does government get fixed midway through a pandemic? The plane is falling out of the sky and we're still arguing who holds the controls. How does this get fixed? How does leadership emerge? What can you do?
And I will tell you, what we have done and what I'm able to do is speak out, call out the craziness, call out the stupid decisions, ask those that are in a position of power for them to do the right thing. It hasn't worked with the mask order, which I think we should have done, should have always had. And again, because of the influence of politics, it's become a political thing. I'm like, what? Like this is just a no-brainer. Again, I'm not a scientist, but I don't have to be one. It's the same as climate change, right? I don't have to be a scientist to know that this is happening. So I think what we have done is actually put pressure. For example, ask for a special session for us to go back to Tallahassee and actually do the things we are supposed to do according to our Constitution. All of this money that's coming down from the feds, it's supposed to be the legislature that appropriates the money. Just because we're in an emergency situation doesn't mean the governor has the power to decide how to spend this money and what to do and what not to do. And that is a constitutional question that has not just been questioned by Democrats like me, it's been questioned by even by Republicans, where they're like, I don't know that this is really the way our Constitution says it's supposed to be. But the fact is, we haven't been willing to go back to appropriate that money. We haven't been willing to go back to fix our unemployment system, which is meant to punish the unemployed. It was created to punish anybody who's unemployed and to not pay them and to get them to give up and say, oh, forget it. It's much easier to go and find a job than to keep pushing these people to pay me what I'm owed, because this is not a gift. This is an insurance policy that is paid into a fund. And you have a state of Florida that when we were in the middle of all this, every other state, their fund was just reducing. Florida is the only state in the nation where our fund, our insurance fund, grew because we weren't paying people. And we still have 1.3 million people who have applied for unemployment that have not been paid. Never mind that we pay a miserable up to $275. And so if it wouldn't have been for the $600 additional that the CARES Act did, we wouldn't have been able to even, a lot of people make do, because there's no way. And yet we still have people who have not gotten paid. So we have a lot of problems. I think that what we can do is meet. But you know why they're not? This is all partisan. Every Democrat voted for us to have a special session. Every Republican voted against it. And by the way, we don't have to vote on this. The governor can just call a special session. The president of the Senate, president of the House, the speaker of the House. They haven't, because it's a presidential election year. They're worried about their election, which is outrageous. You have to be worried more about the people you represent now. If you do good for the people you represent, you don't have to worry about your election. If they would have paid attention to this, and we wouldn't have so many people dying due to COVID-19, and we don't even know if they're really reporting them properly. That's another issue, right? So if they do that right, yes, I'm sorry.
You're completely right. Let's talk about Let's talk about contact tracing. So, you test those that get tested, and let's explain not enough are being tested. But if you get tested, the Department of Health, which is run out of Tallahassee, we don't have a county or a municipal health department. They all report to Tallahassee.
It's called the county health department, but people don't understand that it reports to the governor, to Tallahassee. It does not report to the county government, which is a problem.
So the governor can fund it, but contact tracing on those tests is less than 20%, 17%, 18%. And it's not contact tracing, it's contact. All they're doing is calling 1 out of 5 people who are infected and contagious to let them know days after they took the test that they should quarantine. And that's it. There's no support services, there's no follow-up, there's not a second phone call, there's no contact tracers. So we're about to stop paying people, which means that they need to go get a job, which means that they're going to go out into community at the height peak of infection with no money, with scarcity, with anxiety. And when someone gets infected, they found out days later, but only 1 in 5 are really called proactively. And there's not a series of services to reach out to all those people that they were in contact with. So where does this end? How does this killer virus that literally has all of Jackson plus 40% beds that weren't in ICU, 140% capacity, which means that at some point someone's going to land in an ICU and there may be a problem, right? Like death. So when does it stop being partisan? When does it stop being about getting reelected? When is it really about, oh my God, my grandchild or my grandmother is going to die? When do we as a species understand that this is bigger than a game? Like when does it happen?
Unfortunately, I think that the only day that we're actually going to be able to do something about it is in November, when all of us go out to vote, because it really, even if you were a Trump supporter before, if you are, a Republican, Republicans are dying too. It is affecting mostly minority communities. who are in more need and essential workers. So in that sense, it is affecting the people that we need most, the people that really need to work. But I don't see them changing. I almost feel as though they think that somehow we're going to miraculously get herd immunity when it's already been tested in places like Spain, and it has shown it with studies that it doesn't work, that you don't actually get enough immunity from exposing yourself to people, and we've seen even kids that are dying. So and some of them without any pre-existing condition, any kind of medical issues. So this is not just something that's affecting the elderly. This is something that's affecting everyone, Republicans, Democrats, and I say to everyone, just November can't come fast enough, because we really, I know we always hear our elections, our life depends on it. You need to go out and vote like our life depends on it. This time it's for real. It's really actually quite scary.
Yeah. I know that Miami is not just now the epicenter of a global pandemic because of our numbers and what's yet to come, but we're also the epicenter in some ways, the capital of the Americas. And so much of our community, my parents, you yourself, as someone who came from Latin America, from Colombia, understand the interrelationship between our countries and our people and our family ties across the Caribbean basin, especially. How's Colombia doing? I just looked at the World Health Organization statistic, and they were at 8,525 deaths in the entire country and 248,000 infections. Again, this is all about the number tested. But just, I know that you represent Kendall. I know that there's a vibrant Latin American community there, and I'm just wondering if some of your constituents have, family in Colombia that they've reached out to you and are worried about what's happening in either direction.
Lots. And as a matter of fact, many of them call crying because they can't go because a family loved one has perished. Some of them because of the virus, some of them just because of nature. And unfortunately, they can't go. So, now we can't even go to the Bahamas in a boat. They closed that down to us. I just can't believe that we've become now we usually are the beacon of hope, and we're now the ones that have the walls closed to us. We were always talking about creating a wall. Well, now we have a wall, but we're inside and we can't leave. And so it makes it very tough for people that have family in other places. And I know from our constituents, we hear from a lot of them, they're not allowed. Colombia is closed. It continues to only have humanitarian flights, and you have to prove the humanitarian need for you to go. But other than that, no flights from the United States. So it makes it very, very, very tough for families, that especially when they are sick.
Yeah. So let's try to get to mid-November. And regardless of the outcome, all the polls are showing that Trump will not be returning to the White House. But regardless of the outcome, so now there's not an election in front of us. Are there some Republican colleagues in our state, because the pandemic will be here after the November election? Are there some Republican colleagues, some leadership? Is there, after the
dust settles.
The dust settles and the dance ends, which again, history will come back and see how we failed to act. If we become another 1918, 1920, and we see what individuals did at a moment of crisis where more people died because they were moving the chairs in the Titanic, right? Instead of releasing the boats, right? But let's not get way into history. Let's just get to November when the pandemic is still going to be here in Miami. Do you think that at the state level, the state that governs our health department, our contact tracing, the budgeting for testing, do you think that at that level, regardless who our county mayor is or who our president is, that something can happen in Florida where the governor will still be the existing governor, do you think there's a way of changing the way we govern ourselves?
Um, I am sorry that I'm not going to sound hopeful, and I usually am a very hopeful person. But until, well, I mean, the hope is that the numbers are, are where they are, and that people are really fed up and are saying enough, and are saying, let's put America first, Americans first, in the sense of our safety, before the party. Because unfortunately, we have a lot of politicians that are putting party before their constituents, their country. So in that sense, I have hope, right? That we're going to have lots of elections that are going to surprise a lot of people. And based on the numbers I've seen in the polling, yes, it's looking good for Democrats, bad for Republicans. However, Florida is very much a 1% state, I call it. Usually these elections are decided by the 1% or less, and I know firsthand what that feels like because I ran with Charlie Crist
you were the
statewide. So so it's really I think that if there is a lot of losses besides the presidency throughout the state house seats, state senate seats, I think it's going to be hard not to feel that, not to know that that is painful. And I think because of that, you're going to see a lot of people, including the current electeds, who are going to be very, very aware that they have an election themselves, including the governor, in 2 years, and that they have to worry about their own reelection. And hopefully that will help. But I will tell you what's really also promising. If we win enough seats, if we see a lot of people saying enough, we need change, then you're going to have in 2022, which is the drawing of the maps for the Senate in the state, for the House of Representatives. You're going to see huge fights over those maps like we've had before, but with a new reality of the numbers. And if that happens, then I'm going to believe that we're going to have change. Because if we have fair maps, like all of us voted for, right? All of us said enough with the politics. Let's have some fair maps. My district was drawn very fair, which is a purple district I represent. And, and I think that that's the reason why opportunities have come for some of us to actually win, because they're not Republican, they're not Democrat, they're like a third, Democrat, Republican, and independent. And when you have that, you have legislators that get elected that tend to be more representative of the people, support, and are there to really work for the people, not for a specific one side or the other. I believe that that is the hope that I have. Now, in November, we'll still be in the middle of all this. We'll still be in a tough place. But I think if there's new leadership at the top, it will, a lot of these legislators or appointees that will be leaving, it automatically, even if though the new president, let's say, doesn't take over until January, it doesn't matter. You still have a lot of transition and a lot of changes in policy that even the lower people in the departments will realize, okay, now we can do things the way they've usually been run, Democrat, Republican, but just based on science, based on how to help the people. So hopefully that would be the case.
Yeah, the gerrymandering has allowed for polarization to also go to its extreme ends, so that you're rewarded for running away from a problem, not coming towards a compromise and a solution. So yeah, districts like yours, I saw your district, a very compact node as opposed to a lizard or something else like that. So I do believe that can happen. But the true change, as you know, Senator, is someone who's been involved in all your life, comes from the constituents. It comes from the individuals who want to be governed, who want their representatives to really take care of them. And I cannot think of a more immediate need as you're figuring out whether your kid goes to school or not, or how you're going to pay your rent if you're going to be allowed to stay in that home. If there is ever a time, for people to come together as opposed to run to the extremes for a November election, it is now. And I just thank you for
if I may say something about schools,
Sure.
I have a 14-year-old daughter. She's starting high school, and we were really looking forward to her going through the experience of the first day of high school. I mean, it's something that it's a rite of passage kind of thing. And it's really sad, but the reality is I don't care what eventually the school board in Miami-Dade decides. My daughter will not be going. And like I like to say is, as long as the school board is meeting via Zoom and the state capitol is closed to the public, why is the school going to be open to my child? Like, if it's not safe for the school board members and it's not safe for the government, for the capital of the state of Florida to be open, then why in the world are we opening the schools? I mean, it makes no sense. So until that changes, that's when we talk about our kids going back to school.
Yeah, thank you. Are there other responses that you would make or to impact this issue today? Clearly, by kids staying at school, staying at home, that means parents stay at home. That means that there is less social contact, more social distancing. It gives us an opportunity to do some real contact tracing, some real testing. In other words, the opportunity that was missed, the opportunity that needed to have been realized where we're all sheltered in place, maybe there's an opportunity now with all this loss and these many more deaths where we can do that. But are there other recommendations besides?
Yes, I have been. I actually have. One of the reasons why a lot of the testing places in Miami-Dade went to full capacity was because I started sounding the alarm, realizing that we did not have enough testing available and the numbers were going up. I personally called the director of emergency management and I said, I know that Miami-Dade County is in charge of a lot of these, but we need the supplies so that we can be at full capacity at each testing place. In addition to that, a lot of the senior centers, way back at the beginning, they weren't testing them, they weren't paying attention. I know some of the ones in my district, I was like, look, I have a lot of calls from constituents that are worried. Called the Secretary of Health. They showed up within a week. They tested everyone and were able to separate. Because if you don't know, then how can you control it, right? We now have funding and we have the ability for people to go to a hotel if they need to separate, isolate from their family. They have a family member that they're worried about. So we do have that ability and a place for people to get that. We did get some funding for the housing, the rental assistance for those that are in need. But I will tell you, today, I started asking questions. The formula makes no sense. Miami-Dade is the largest county with the most people infected, with the largest unemployment in the whole state. And yet we didn't get the percentage based on that. We got about the same as Orlando, Broward, other areas. And again, I'm not saying they didn't need it, but you really should base it on the need and the percentage of the how much has hit you. And so I am questioning how that formula was created. The formulas always in the government are messed up towards Miami. We always pay up, but we never get it back. And so I'm always looking at the formulas and always asking questions. How'd you do that? And why'd you do that? And that makes no sense. They don't like that, but if you don't ask questions and you don't highlight it, people are like, oh, you got 17 million, you're good. No. So that's the other thing. And we got to expand the $600. And that's going to be a big fight for the next couple of weeks at the federal level for the every week for the unemployed to get. Now the Republicans are saying they're going to give 200. I find that completely unacceptable. And frankly, I don't know how you live off of that. And they're saying, oh, because we want people to go back to work. Go back to work where? We're literally almost closed down here. We can't go to work. There are no new jobs. Places are closing down. So, I mean, maybe they can just say, well, the places that have this kind of parameter or whatever, that's fine with me if they want to do that. But you cannot not help the unemployed because they're not unemployed and sitting at home because they want to. they're unemployed and sitting at home because of the situation we're in. So,
Senator, so this recording that we have goes online, and it's really to document the way that Miami addressed the pandemic, which is why I'm so involved with interviewing and having conversations with political leaders, so that future generations can understand how to impact the pandemic based on what was happening here today. But I also have an eye to the present, right? A big part of this website, I literally sit there and I document how many people died on a given day. And every now and then I get really exasperated and I say a couple of things like yesterday, where our children are dying now. Like, what is it going to take? So they're not pretty drawings. They're just gestural, emotional sketches about the angst that we were all feeling. So I do that as an artist. I try to capture that. And the reason I do that is because I'm also trying to change the behavior. I'm trying to have people, not reflecting from the future looking back towards today, but it's about changing today. And in that role, I just want you to please, because anyone can access this video at any time. If you were talking to your constituent, right, just having a conversation with them, I know you have a whole bunch of ways in which you do your town halls and you engage in your constituents, but just for the purposes of this recording, if you could just talk to that citizen, and you know how bad it's still going to get for them. Could you give them a message of, I don't know if hope is the right word, but just talk to your constituent about where we are, and let them hear from their leader?
I would say, if you can stay home, and take care of everyone in your family. I would say that if you have to go out, at all times wear a mask. And I know there are some people that are still questioning whether we should be doing that. Please always wear a mask. Always wash your hands. My message of hope is really for us to be able to to not give up on the fact that there are many of us that are still trying to help. We're here to help. My office has been helping tons of people get through a very frustrating unemployment system, get through applications for PPP money or anything else that they need, helping you get through this, because we're going through it with you. And I'm just, I'm going to continue to speak out on behalf of my constituents, to speak out on the frustrations, to speak out on the wrongs that are happening. But I need you to also just take responsibility and take care of you, your family, and make sure that we stop this spread. And again, if you can stay home, stay home. And if you can't, be careful when you go out to protect yourself at all times.
Well, thank you so much, Senator. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for guiding us through this time. And please,
thank you for what you do.
please continue fighting.
Yeah, thank you.
We need you.
When I got elected, my husband gave me a signed boxing glove. Yes. From Muhammad Ali, and I also have a picture signed, because I am such a fighter. I don't give up. Clearly, I'm here because I didn't give up, but also that's what I tell people. That's what we need in Tallahassee: people who just keep, no matter how much they punch you, just keep going until eventually you punch them back, and you're able to really defend what you're fighting for. So. That symbol of a fighter is something I'm very proud of.
Great. All right. Well, again, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.